College football national championship, the Buckeyes reign supreme. Changing of the guard in Denver. Have we seen the future? And that's Andrew Luck, along with the end of the Peyton era. Hawks D creates a no-fly zone, while the Patriots bounce back into form, and the Packers needed to catch a break in order to advance. All that plus headlines and interviews. I'm Radio Hondo, and this is the Flashback. Well, everyone, and welcome into the Flashback. It's Tuesday, and we are in the heart of the playoff schedule, my favorite time of year. College championship game last night. We'll cover that, of course, but first, a lot of big news, games, and changes that came in from the weekend, so let's just hit on a few of those to get started. First up, right in our headlines, I gotta ask everybody, despite last night's game, how good is it still to be in the Northwest right now? You look at the Seattle Seahawks, the Oregon Ducks, the Blazers, and then even the Beavers over the weekend. What was that, Monday or Sunday night? The Beavers knocking down a top-seeded Arizona Wildcats squad. And this was a Beavers team. Let me just start with them at Oregon State. The beginning of the season, this team actually had walk-ons and a tryout just in order to fill the squad. So, the major heights that Oregon State has been on over the years in the Peyton Manning eras, and through the 80s, has gone, and if they're ever going to get back to that, that's a big question mark. But right now, that game on Sunday, that was huge. That was huge. So you got to give some credit to the Beavers for getting the upset done. They beat Arizona 68-66. Meanwhile, though, some dominant teams in the Northwest. One of those, of course, the rivalry of the Beavers. Oregon, of course, that is on the college football home front, where Oregon has just simply had an amazing season, an amazing run over the last 7 years or so as far as the level of the bowl games that they've been getting into, and you have to give them a lot of credit. So it's a good time for the college fan to be in the Northwest right now. Congrats to them on their season, their first Heisman Trophy winner, of course, and Marcus Mariota, and a whole lot more of a number of accomplishments over the years, making it to the playoffs this season, getting to that championship game for the second time in 4 years. So congratulations to the Ducks. And then on an even higher note, when you get to the professional level, right now in the Northwest, you have a Blazer team that is tearing it up in the Northwest Division, number 1 in the Northwest, number 2 overall in the NBA, and they have been playing lights out. Little Damian, as I like to call him, Damian Lillard, has just been a huge factor on that team, of course. He was putting up numbers last season. You remember the game in the playoffs against Houston, that game-winning shot that he's remembered for as well. And he has just been phenomenal. But along with that is Wesley Matthews, man. The play of Wesley Matthews has been tremendous so far, and LA just continues to do his thing. And a lot of good parts on that team as well. When you look at Kamen filling in and trying to fill some of the void left by Lopez, who's been on the bench for a while. So great guard play. They're shooting lights out right up there. Wesley Matthews, as I mentioned, he has stats that surpass Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. And, of course, them two playing together, they're going to take a couple shots fewer than they would if they were teammates with somebody or partnered up with somebody else. But when you look at the amount of success that Wesley Matthews, Damian Lillard, LA has been having, just a great job by the Blazers so far. And then finally, you head up the I-5 and you have the Seattle Seahawks get to a Super Bowl a few years back. It seems like forever ago, the first time they made it to a Super Bowl against Pittsburgh there. Fell short there. Then they had a little bit of a lull, but have bounced back once again. They win the title last year, and they look stronger than ever and possibly on their way to another title. So great job for the Northwest right now. They have been tearing it up, really putting Oregon and Washington back on the map in terms of significance and impact in all of those sports. So just fantastic, phenomenal job. Blazers, we'll talk about them a little bit more as we kind of start to wind down in the college and pro football seasons. So look forward to some more Blazer news if they're staying up on top of things in the NBA, and of course, the Golden States and all those teams as well. All right, well, news out of Buffalo. This was found this to be one of the more interesting headlines it was on Sunday when they announced that Buffalo has decided to hire Rex Ryan as their coach. Now, when you look at this from a perspective of defense, it makes sense. When you look at this from the perspective of offense, what are you doing, Buffalo? What are you doing? You have one of the worst quarterback situations going on right now. You'd be better off if Kyle Orton didn't retire. And to hear someone say that, is just, silly in itself. Coming in right now, I have the TV on. Just want to let you know, Cowboys and Jason Garrett seem to be close on a new 5-year contract agreement. So they are working together, trying to hammer something out. Looks like the Cowboys want to stick with their head man. Happy with the job he's been doing. Jason Garrett, ever since that Thanksgiving Day fill-in for Troy Aikman years and years ago, he has been a part of that Cowboys organization. Looks like he's going to continue to be at least until 2020. So great job there for the job that Jason Garrett has done, and it looks like the Cowboys, I think that's a good decision just to stick with what's been working so far as far as the team success there. So way to go. But getting back to this Bills, Rex Ryan, he's not going to fix anything from your quarterback situation, and it's not like it's going to improve anyway. So if they're hiring Rex Ryan, I hope Buffalo has some patience right now, because you just missed the playoffs because of a player who retired, a player that you had to sign on essentially because he just wanted to get one more season in. He wanted to get one more season in. He ends up having to jump into the starting role. And then I think they went, 9-7 this year? Buffalo went 9-7? 9-7 or 8-8, doesn't really matter. They just missed the playoffs. And you think Rex Ryan's going to improve on that? Your defense is already there. They're doing just as good without him as if Rex Ryan was there. So you're not going to get any improvement there. Maybe they want a more effective running game. Maybe they think Ryan can lead them to a better running game. But the other big question on that as well is, when it was first initially reported, they said that Jim Schwartz was going to stay at D coordinator, which was kind of odd, seeing that he runs a more unique style of defense and is away from, on the opposite side of Rex Ryan's kind of 3-4 base scheme. So apparently that was not the case, that they would be holding on to Jim Schwartz, and they have decided to part ways with the D coordinator. So a lot of coordinators jumping around right now. A lot of coordinators leaving. A lot of OCs looking at other positions. Gary Kubiak has been one that has been floating around. He announced that he actually wants to stay in Baltimore. But now today, I'm hearing that the Broncos want to talk to him. So where that situation is with Gary Kubiak, he's been moving around quite a bit in the last few years. So I would imagine he'd want to settle down. It'd be attractive to settle down. Maybe not Baltimore is an attractive place, but no offense, Baltimore. There are some good parts there. But he at least wants to stay somewhere with a little bit of stability, probably. So we'll see if he does entertain that interview. He said he was going to shut down the interviews from other teams and just focus on Baltimore, but we'll see if that's the case. All right. Meanwhile, though, in Denver, another situation with a head coach is John Fox, of course, in Denver. Denver, the losers of that divisional round game, upset by the Colts, which we'll talk about here shortly. I want to get to that game. I want to get to that game. And we'll discuss that in a few. But John Fox, it's the end of the line for him. It's the end of the line for him in Denver. He's one of what I believe 5 or 6 coaches to ever lead 2 teams to the Super Bowl, in Denver and Carolina. But he's one of only 2 coaches of those 6, 2 of them who were unable to win at least one. The other one, of course, being Dan Reeves. His last opportunity was with Atlanta back in the day. Then they lost to, coincidentally, Denver. And then Dan Reeves, who had led Denver to the Super Bowl on several occasions, let go. So a lot of interesting coincidences, and just with the team name, obviously, of Denver, but their coaching situation is in crisis right now. Jack Del Rio, their D coordinator, he's looking at other opportunities right now. He's going to be interviewing. It looks like Oakland is favoring him right now. He's going to go in. And then you have Gase, the OC, who is also being entertained by another Bay Area team in San Francisco. He's going to be going in for his second interview, so he's already been impressing people, and the potential to hold on to him is very much in question. Now, John Elway, he's been on the press conferences all throughout the day talking about the situation, obviously saying things like, if we made the Super Bowl, we wouldn't have made the change. Well, of course not, because you'd be focusing on the New England Patriots right now. But clearly, Manning came in. He's towards the end of his run. He had the neck injuries. He sustained the thigh injury, of course, well documented now. Playing that game with a torn, partially torn quad. One of the quadrants of the quad was torn up, and apparently I don't know if that hindered his throwing ability. Obviously, it probably had some impact. We'll get to that once we discuss that Indianapolis and Denver game. Is this going to be the end for Peyton Manning? Find out soon. Another interesting one that came in over the weekend was Dick LeBeau in Pittsburgh. They decide a lot of mutual separations going on right here. A lot of amicable separations, which is good, considering how many bad relations there are out in professional sports. But Dick LeBeau, a long time, obviously, D coordinator there with the Steelers, has had some success pretty much everywhere he's gone, and a couple titles with Pittsburgh. So he's a big name. He's a big name, but let's face the facts. Pittsburgh wasn't a great defense last year. They weren't great against the run. They didn't do so hot against the pass, although they were a little bit better than as opposed to against the run. So it's a situation now where it's time to move forward, I guess. And Kevin Butler, the linebacker coach, has now been named as the new defensive coordinator, so he has stepped up to the next role, and we'll kind of gauge that and see how it goes next season. Obviously, they're going to have to get some improvements on the defense in terms of personnel, so we'll see what strategy they go with heading into the draft. I think offensively they're pretty solid. Just need to hang on to whomever is a free agent right now. I'm not looking at the list or anything, so I'm not sure who's coming up for free agency, but they seem to be clicking well enough on offense. And you can never draft too many offensive linemen as well. So beyond that, offensively they're looking good, but there's a lot of questions on that defense, and Dick LeBeau obviously a part of that. So they have let him go, and we'll find out how much focus and always going to be focused on defense in Pittsburgh. It's always a key critical point. They're one of those teams, they just say, hey, we want to, like Big Ten style, everybody. We're just going to power the ball, running game. Obviously, they have opened up and been passing quite a bit there in the Roethlisberger era, but they're a smash mouth team, and it starts with the defense for them. So they feel that it's time to move on and catch up and get back into it. All right, one of the other big things, we discussed the Oregon State Beavers in college basketball upsetting number 7 Arizona. There were a lot of upsets over the weekend for the top 25 teams. We're getting into conference play, so these teams are familiar with one another. Things are getting a little bit closer. You're not going to be taking on, Presbyterian every weekend. You're now going to have to, get some tougher competition in there. So we, not surprisingly, saw a few fall, but there were a lot this weekend, and there were some very surprising ones. One of them that I didn't find, although too surprising, it was interesting to see that they had pulled off the upset, but when you look statistically at the history, not really a huge upset. Duke, of course, falls to North Carolina State. That's the game I'm referencing, 87-75. So they were on the road at NC State, where NC State has had some success over the last few years against Duke. I think they've won, I thought I heard the stat of 4 or 5 of their home games against Duke over the last 9 years or so. And another one that fell down was Louisville, who is now ranked at the number 6 spot. They dropped just one notch from 5 to 6 after suffering a loss to North Carolina, 72-71. But not a bad loss there. Carolina's in the top 25 as well, and they had a loss prior to that against Louisville, actually, when they were ranked number 18. So they're 15 now. They lose to Notre Dame 71-70, and then they beat Louisville 72-71, and they get knocked up 3 spots. Go figure. Well, part of that, West Virginia. They lose to Iowa State. They fell 2 spots. You had Oklahoma, who fell 2 spots. The big one, though, Texas. Texas now 12-4 on the season. They dropped 2 games, back-to-back weekends over the Oklahoma Sooners and Oklahoma State, both ranked in the top 25. Oklahoma State at 24 now. Sooners, I believe, are at 18. So some big upsets. Maryland, they lost as well, dropped 3 spots. They're at 14 now, lost to Illinois. They were just outside the top 10. And Notre Dame pulled off that big win against North Carolina. Then they come back versus Virginia, drop that game. Now, Virginia's a very tough team. Virginia's a very tough team, one of my favorites in this season. And they actually ended up stealing some votes from Kentucky. So those were some of the upsets from over the weekend. Of course, as I mentioned, Arizona falling to the Beavers early on in the show. They're at number 10 now, dropped 3 spots after that loss. Kentucky still undefeated. Almost got upset a couple times. They had Ole Miss, took overtime, went 89-86. Then they went to Texas A&M, and they scraped by, had to go into double overtime. But they pulled it off, 70-64. You're going to have some tough spots. You're going to have some tough spots where the team's not playing 100%. So that's just, win's a win. Win's a win once you get past it. Now, they lose 2 votes because of it. But really, what's the importance of the top 25 now? The top 25 is just to gauge who could be top seeds going in to the tournament. So I don't put too much into that, but we did have some upsets for the top 10. And there's going to be some more upsets as the season goes on. Kentucky's going to fall at some point. I think it's better to fall at some point rather than go undefeated, to be honest with you. It's basketball. It's basketball. You have to be able to overcome adversity at some point in the season. If they don't have any adversity, it might be difficult for them later on in the year. Well, we'll see. That might have been enough adversity right there in the weekend against Ole Miss and Texas A&M. All right, finally, Kevin Garnett last night against Houston. Kevin and Dwight Howard got into a little bit of a scrum in the first quarter. Howard came in for a dunk and a little bit of a foul on the play from Garnett. It's rough play down there, down low in the NBA, man. That's rough play. You see it on TV. It looks like they're just guys at a gym. You get down there on the sidelines, you see some of the pushing and the shoving and the size of the muscles of these guys. They're throwing each other around quite a bit. Now, how hard the foul was, it's that's up in the air. And it didn't seem like a huge foul, but something erupted there. And Kevin Garnett ends up picking up the ball, throws it at Dwight Howard, gets in his face, and he headbutts him. Yeah, he just went Bam Bam Bigelow. It was all Bam Bam Bigelow, but boom. Who does that? Who headbutts people? Boxers? I don't know. I've never been in a fight where I headbutted somebody or even thought about headbutting somebody. It just seems silly. Is that not the most ridiculous move in the history of fighting, headbutting? I mean, what are you? What are you? Well, I mean, I don't want to offend headbutters out there. If it's a tactic that's worked for you in the past, busting somebody's nose or something, that's a small target. You miss, boom, you can get somebody's chin, you can get their head, which could hurt even more. I mean, your brain's a weapon, but your skull should not be. See what I'm getting at there? See what I'm getting at, Kevin? Headbutting? Man, I mean, I know NBA players are not good fighters. And this is why I found this so interesting. It wasn't so much the headbutting or whatever. Yeah, that was kind of silly. But afterwards, he's talking about it, and he says to the I don't know who he was speaking with, some media person. I says, it's a bar fight. It's a bar fight. You ever been in a bar fight? Kevin, I'm pretty sure you've never been in a bar fight. Okay? Pretty sure you've never been in a bar fight, man. And I don't know where Kevin Garnett gets this tough guy mentality. I mean, it works on the court. It's been great. When he was in his prime, able to trash talk, do some things, came right out of high school, so he wanted to establish that tough mentality in his place down low against these big guys. He didn't have the hugest frame. Still didn't have the hugest frame. But he's a talker. And he likes to get in people's faces. Apparently likes to headbutt them as well. And I'm not sure if he was in bar fights in Boston or in Minnesota or maybe just recently in Jersey here. It seems to happen a lot in Jersey, bar fights. Boston as well. Get a couple of drinks in you. This is some fighter towns. Some fighters in Boston. So he headbutts him. And he's talking about bar fights. You're a basketball player, man. I've seen basketball players fight on the court. It's ridiculous. It's like an NBA player in a fight. It's like watching a dad give a high five. It's just awkward. It looks weird. There's strange arm movements. You never really know where the target is, what they were aiming for. And you just walk away scratching your head. Like, I would just rather have seen the foul shots and then come back down and dunk and talk some trash. Don't fight. Please don't fight. We have these tremendous athletes. And I'm not saying I could win a fight against an NBA player. But you got some of these players in there trying to draw up fights. And it's just ridiculous. I'm just going to call it's the high five fight. It's the high five fight. NBA players. Run around like dad trying to high-five people. That's what their fights look like. Remember that battle? What was it? Alonzo Mourning got into, man? He was just flailing arms around. Flailing them around. And bad things happen when you flail arms around, just like what happened to me. I just knocked my headset off. Talking about flailing arms around. So that wraps up our headlines. Kevin Garnett, silly, ridiculous, headbutter, bar fighter apparently. Yeah, Kevin, I'm going to call you out on that. You've never been in a bar fight. You have never been in a bar fight. Get out of here, man. Come on. And I like KG back in the day. Obviously, he's towards the closer to retirement than he is to his prime. But you ain't never been in no bar fight, man. Tell you about bar fights. You ain't never been in no bar fight. All right. Okay, so that does it for our headlines. A lot of news again coming out. The coaching carousel just rotating ever so fastly. Two of those teams that don't have to worry about coaching right now. Although Baltimore might be with Kubiak. We'll see how that situation pans out. Broncos showing some interest in him. They want to interview him for the offensive coordinator position, same position he holds with Baltimore right now. So not really sure that he'd want to make a move just in order to really be in a big question mark, because you don't know what's going on with Peyton Manning. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. First, want to get to this New England-Baltimore game, do a quick recap. New England goes in there. Baltimore takes a 14-0 lead. New England comes back. Baltimore goes up 14 again later on in the game, and New England did it once again. They step up in the postseason. They change their game plan in the second half, pull out some tricks. It's the playoffs. It's the playoffs. Anything to win within the rules in the playoffs. That's how it works. So they threw around some trickery, aired it out some more. And what did we say going into this game? What was going to be one of the huge factors? Rob Gronkowski. Of course, the Gronk is going to be a factor. And he was a factor this weekend. Just like I said, I didn't see as much. I didn't get to watch the game too closely. I had it on. It was going on. I'm watching, paying attention. But on some of the Gronk catches, I didn't catch if Mosley was in coverage, kind of like I wanted to see. Because Mosley, he's a younger guy, younger linebacker, a little bit faster. Picked off 2 passes during the season. Had a couple sacks as well. Great tackler. With his size, I thought he might be able to give Gronk some issues. At least kind of maybe contain him a little bit. You're not going to stop Gronk. You can only hope to contain the Gronk. And Baltimore wasn't able to do that. 7 receptions, 109 yards, got into the end zone as well on that really power play. One of those classic Gronk receptions and touchdowns. Then, of course, you had Edelman to Amendola, that touchdown on the trick play. And some other trickery as well. This guy's going to be ineligible. Yeah. We're calling it, this guy's going to be ineligible. I didn't think this was a big story, and I'm not going to hit it for too long. Again, Harbaugh, this guy gets mad if he comes home and his dinner isn't hot. If his dinner isn't coming right out of the oven, he gets pissed off. Brother the same way. They're just fiery guys, which is good. I mean, that's helps motivate the team, helps get the team going, but it's sometimes when it comes down to a confrontation with the other team or officials and the head coach, that's where, hey, keep it cool a little bit. Air your grievance out, but you don't have to go crazy, man. So Harbaugh had a big fit about it. The calling in ineligible players in order to kind of trick that Baltimore defense into wondering who they're going to have to cover, not allowing them to get time to figure it out, and then running the play effectively on them. And they made the second half adjustments. They aired it out, ran the ball 13 times. I think 10 of those runs were in the first half. But they saw what they had to do. We're like, we're not going to be able to get a running game against these guys. So what do? We got to have to work around it. And Tom Brady, classic Tom Brady, he worked around it. He got the job done. Brought his team back, and they win the game. Now, for Baltimore, I didn't think Forsett was going to get much of a running game going. But they did. They got the running game going in Baltimore. Forsett, great day, 129 yards, 5.4 yards per carry. Was a factor out of the backfield in the passing game. So they did that. They did that. What they didn't do, however, was make adjustments of their own. They didn't make adjustments. They were staying aggressive, but I think they stayed too aggressive on the offensive standpoint. Ended up getting bit by turnovers. Flacco looked great early, throws 2 picks late. Those interceptions cost them. You got to know when to be aggressive, when not to be aggressive. And obviously you want to keep your foot on the pedal. You want to keep driving, keep putting up points. But you do have to adjust the game plan. I don't think they did that well. I think they could have really stuck with it when it came to Justin Forsett and the running game. And here's the other kicker. Baltimore, I didn't hear anybody else talk about this. 1 of 9. They might have announced it during the game. I had it on mute. I was listening to the radio broadcast while the game was going on. 1 and 9 on third down. 1 for 9 on third down. That's not going to get you in too many places. Just ask Oregon. They were 2 for 12 on third down. The other team's airing it out, moving the ball. You can't keep your offense on the field. It's going to lead to problems every time. So, great job by the Patriots. They beat Baltimore. They're going to take on the Indianapolis Colts. We'll talk about that game in just a moment. Do want to remind you, folks, first off, hey, thanks for joining us here on the Flashback at Radio Hondo. Always a pleasure to have you with us. I just enjoy doing the show, and I'm glad if you like listening, you enjoy listening to it. Happy to have you. You remember, you can always comment below on any of the videos individually. Shoot me an email. Give a take. Let me know what's happening. Let me know what you think. Was it crazy when I called Indianapolis over Denver? Did you want to say something when you heard that? Probably don't want to say anything now because it happened. Anyway, that's what we do. So, throw it my way. I'll try to, if I see the take, I'll give a listen, read up on it, and I'll get back to you. I'll include it on the show. So feel free to, stick with us here on the Flashback. RadioHondo@gmail.com. RadioHondo@gmail.com. And, of course, comment below as well. All right, that Indianapolis and Denver game, this was one of those games. It just had every storyline, of course. So a lot of people wanted to see it. It was the primetime game on Sunday. And Indianapolis went in there with no fear. Like I said before, you looked at week 1, 2 totally different teams in terms of their running games and their running attacks. Indianapolis still trying to find themselves. Denver was just full throttle, as we all expected early in the season, came in full throttle. And they, found a win at home in week 1. 31-24, I think, was the score on that game. Denver able to get by. But for the Colts and Andrew Luck, this guy he continues to evolve right in front of us. Despite the caveman beard, yeah, I know, that's one of the ugliest beards. That's worse than the Ryan Fitzpatrick beard. Right? Despite the caveman beard of Andrew Luck, he is evolving as a quarterback even beyond what I think our expectations were for him. And you love to see that. And a lot of people, obviously with the Indianapolis ties, Peyton Manning, he's the next Peyton Manning. No, he's not. He is not the next Peyton Manning. The next Peyton Manning puts up a bunch of numbers and doesn't win in the playoffs. This is not... Yeah. He won 1 Super Bowl. Get out of here. He got lucky in 1 Super Bowl. It was matched up with Chicago. Anybody could have won that game. Well, not anybody, but you get the idea. But he's evolving right in front of us, Andrew Luck. And he's actually more, for me, he's more of that kind of combo of, like a Ben Roethlisberger. He's got the toughness. He can run. He's like John Elway. Really. John Elway, fullback in high school, comes into the league. Great, following there at Stanford. Lost his last game, of course, to Cal in the big game when the band came out. Yeah, that was Elway's last career game in college, was the big game, which the band came out. Man, drive Stanford down, ties it to take the lead, and then last play of the game. Who could forget it? Trombone player or tuba player, whoever got trampled there. Band geek. Tease. But yeah, Andrew Luck shows me a lot of those qualities. Just that toughness, the mobility. Not easy to take down, and a strong arm. You always heard the stories with John Elway throwing to wide receivers, coming away after practice with bruises on their arms. Luck's got a cannon. He's got a cannon. And he's throwing dimes. He's hitting receivers. He's hitting no-name receivers. Even people in Indianapolis will tell you T.Y. Hilton's not the greatest receiver in the world. Reggie Wayne's, waning. And, I can't even tell you off the top of my head the names of their other receivers. I really couldn't. Hakeem Nicks, I can name that one. He's not fantastic. He did all right in New York when he had the other receivers to complement him. Real number ones. The Victor Cruz. But he doesn't really have any weapons. And he's still having success. You know why? Part of that, obviously, is him himself. The other part of that is that O-line. That offensive line for Indianapolis, I don't think people realize how good they are, especially in the pass protection. Only 27 sacks this season, 5th lowest. You get a young quarterback who's able to get in the pocket, focus on his career, focus on the plays, getting that offense. He's given the dedication. A lot of people with a lot of talent come into the NFL, and they're like, I already made it. I've done all this stuff in the college game. And then they get to the NFL, they start looking at playbooks, they get confused, they don't get time on the line, and their careers fall apart. They're worrying too much about running around and staying up on their feet, or running around and staying up on their feet all night, one way or the other. So they're either not focusing on their career, realizing this is the time to prove yourself, or they don't have a chance because they're on their backs half the time. I think Dave Carr probably could have been a better player if he wasn't sacked like 70 times in a season. Probably could have been if he had a chance out there. So Andrew Luck in that O-line, that's where it's at. That's where it's at. And they've accepted, like I said, they've accepted their role, the way they run the ball. They're going to go big. They can use you're going to have backs, like I said, with Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell, he's one of those backs in between the 20s. He's going to get the job done inside the 20s. Then when you get inside the red zone, he's going to get the job done inside the red zone too. Well, there's not a lot of backs in the NFL that can do that can go back and forth and control a game completely on their own. DeMarco Murray, Jamal Charles, Shady McCoy, although he's a little bit smaller, but there's not a lot of backs in the NFL that can do that, and that's why we have all these running back by committees. That's why New England has so many backs, because they have backs who specialize and have a difference about each one of them for situations, for packages that they have. Yeah, Bill Belichick doesn't get a lot of sleep. Everybody should know that. He doesn't get a lot of sleep. But the Colts have accepted what their running game is or isn't. They're going to use their backs out of the backfield in the passing game between the 20s. When they get inside the 20s, that's when they know how to run the ball. They're going to go with their power sets. They're going to get some tight ends in there to help with the blocking. And you saw it, Boone Herron, he got into the end zone on a 6-yard run to open things up for Indianapolis. And then he has 8 receptions out of the backfield. And then later on in the fourth quarter, when they need to burn clock and they're in the middle of the field, they actually had like 3 or 4 in a row of 8-yard runs. So they know what they can and they can't do in that running game. And they've accepted who they are as a team and just accelerated on their specialties. We saw it in Denver. We saw it through the season. Time of possession, Indianapolis 34 minutes to 26. Plus they kept the turnovers under control. Probably should have been one more turnover with that Cribbs fumble. Not fumble. Yeah, it was a fumble. And by the way, Josh Cribbs, why aren't you fair catching the ball? I know you're a dynamic returner. You can do some things. But know when to fair catch the ball. There were two times which Cribbs should have fair caught the ball, and he didn't. The first one he got popped, and he held on. The second one he got popped, and he didn't hold on. But he caught a break. Turnovers, though, like I said, kept it under control. It was 3-2, I believe, 3-1. So it wasn't too bad on that. Andrew Luck had 2 interceptions. One almost kind of cost him situationally, but the first one was just kind of a dead one, so it didn't really matter there. So for the most part, like we said, if he's able to keep even with Manning on that, he should be all right. And then on the other side, Manning, he was the question mark. What offense are we going to see? What's going to happen? Is this running game for real? Is this their new scheme? C.J. Anderson goes in, 19 carries, 80 yards. He had 1 carry on 4 fourth quarter possessions. So they walked away from it. And early in the fourth quarter, they still could have easily gotten back into the game, ran the ball with Anderson, and had some success. They chose not to do that. They had the ball to start the fourth quarter, and they could have just ran it with Anderson and caught up. That's when he had his 1 carry. 1 carry in that opening possession of the fourth quarter. He had 14 attempts of his 19 in the first half. So another case of Manning going in, not ever really having a running game, or even when he does have a back that can run, he just pushes away from it. And this was one of the times where he should have gone to it more than he should have pushed away from it, without a doubt. Especially given the fact that he doesn't even have a quad. He's running on a tricep. He's got a tricep in his leg with a torn quad. So he's not getting any push on the ball, apparently. That might be the problem. Looked to me like he had dead arm, though. I thought he had dead arm. He looked good in the opening drive. And then he's overthrowing. He's pushing the ball. He's underthrowing. Any type of bad throw you could have made, he made it. The only reason why there weren't more interceptions, or even a interception by the Indianapolis defense, was basically because nobody could catch the ball. Not where he was putting it. And then you got a guy who goes 19 carries, 80 yards, and you're not feeding him the rock when you're only down 2 possessions. That seems silly. So yeah, I'd fire John Fox. I'd let him go. And I don't know if I would feel comfortable having Manning coming back, to be honest with you. And trust me, he was on my fantasy team, man. I want to see those numbers again. But he almost killed me down the stretch. And he killed this team down the stretch. He's still never won a big game. He has 1 big game win. I beat Brady in the playoffs. Yeah. Nah. Here's the thing. If you don't win the Super Bowl, you didn't win the big game. So he got 2 Super Bowls. Got to 2 Super Bowls. Lost, or 3 Super Bowls. Lost 2 of them. Do I put Manning above Marino? Yeah, I do. I think he's a better quarterback overall than Marino. Marino had his one opportunity, and then he got selfish in his career. He got selfish in his career. He did not want to run the ball. He almost refused. He just basically flat out refused to run the ball. Or else I think we could have seen the Dolphins in at least 2 more Super Bowls, maybe. At least 1. Same thing with Manning. Same exact situation. He's a great guy, great mindset. One of the best quarterbacks ever. I wouldn't put him at number 1, though. I wouldn't put him at number 1. And the defense, they had no answers for Denver. A great defense going into this game, and they fall short. 0 sacks. They didn't get to Andrew Luck once and bring him down. Had a couple hits on him, never brought him down. The first matchup between them, they brought him down 3 times. And they had 13 pass deflections. This game, nothing. Nothing. Dry slate. Guy had all time, all day. Thought he actually would have passed for more yards. Only ended up with like 269, 270, somewhere in that range. A little over 260. But no sacks. First 14 weeks of the season. They had 1 game that they went without a sack. 1 game without a sack. I think that was, I want to say that was against Oakland. The first time they played Oakland. But they won that game in a blowout. They didn't even need to. I mean, it's Oakland. So defense had no answers. They couldn't get any pressure on Andrew Luck. And then in the last, here's a telling sign. Last 4 weeks of the season, we were talking about the offense and how the offense was a big question mark. What the heck's going on here? What are we doing? You changing the whole scheme halfway through the season. You're trying to save the arm of Peyton Manning. You're trying to establish a running game for the playoffs. What are you doing? What are you doing offensively? Because it's not working. Well, the defense wasn't working either. After going the first 14 weeks of the season in which they only had 1 game without a sack, the last 4 games they played, including the Indianapolis game, 3 of those games, they came away with no sacks. They were 9th in the league overall. And the last 3 of their 4 games they played, including the Indianapolis postseason game, 3 of those games, no sacks. You don't think that's important? That's important. No wonder they lost. Well, we didn't think it was a surprise. Everybody else thought it was a surprise, apparently. Everybody else outside of Indianapolis apparently thought it was a surprise. It was not a surprise. This was not a surprise at all. And the big question mark now is Peyton Manning. Is he done? He gave it a run. He gave it a run. He helped out that Denver team. He gave him some hope. He gave him a run. He gave him an opportunity to win. But I think they might have overinvested a little bit. And C.J. Anderson should have been a bigger factor in that game. He should have been a much bigger factor in that game. Go from 14 attempts in the first half to just 1 carry in the fourth quarter. Should have been a bigger factor. So that's a big, huge question mark. What's going to happen with Peyton Manning now? I think he had dead arm. I don't think it was just the quad. I think he really has dead arm. He might have it. If not, he got dead arm in that game. Might have been the hit by Newsome. Newsome brought him down, slammed his hand, he fumbled the ball. And he may have had dead arm from that point. I don't know. I don't know for sure. We're never really going to know. He's not going to tell you. But the fact of the matter is, I think we might have seen the last game for Peyton Manning. And it's hard to let go. He's a great player. It's hard to let go, especially when you've been competing for so long at such a high level. But I think it might be done. Anyway, we picked the Patriots to win. They won, of course, and we picked Indianapolis to win in the upset over Denver, 24-13. So Indianapolis and the New England Patriots, they're gonna duke it out on next weekend. Going into this game, I'm not sure how much of a chance that Indianapolis has. I do know this, though. That Patriots run defense better get things figured out. Indianapolis isn't that effective of a run game between the 20s, of course, but if they get inside that red zone, you better stop the run. And New England doesn't look like they can stop the run right now, despite the gaudy numbers they put up in the regular season. So that's going to be an issue. Andrew Luck in Indianapolis are very good at time of possession, so that might be a factor going into this game. We're going to take a closer look on that on Thursday, of course. In the meantime, any takes on the Indianapolis and Denver game or that Baltimore game, send me some stuff on the college football or some of the headlines that we covered. Who do you want to see in the next coaching positions for Denver? Who do you think's a better fit there? Jason Garrett with the Cowboys, is that good? Now they have Jason Garrett out of the way. The Cowboys can focus on Murray and what's the other guy's name? Oh yeah, the loudmouth there, Bryant. Yeah, the catcher. We'll talk about that game in just a bit, actually, in our next segment. So I do want to remind you once again, Radio Hondo, you can always email me at radiohondo@gmail.com. Go ahead and do that right now. Also, subscribe. Subscribe to the channel if you like what you're hearing. Mark it, man. Mark it, dude. Subscribe right now. Appreciate it. Helps us be easier to find on the web and all that stuff. So do that if you enjoy what you're hearing, and also, of course, comment below at any time and in the emails there, radiohondo@gmail.com. NFC games just as exciting as in the AFC. Controversy in Dallas, of course. We can't replay the game, so what does Dallas need to focus on now? Obviously, we talked about Garrett and their free agents. They're working those things out. And the Hawks, they're turning it up just at the right time. So we'll hit on those, as well as recent Hall of Fame inductees, both for college football and baseball. We're going to take a look at both of those. All that in the next segment here, segment 2. Thanks for listening. This is Radio Hondo. You're listening to The Flashback.